What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. We all know that one of the most unorthodox yet relatively expected moves by Putin was to bring North Korean boots to bolster his failing campaign in Ukraine. People expected them to be undertrained, people expected language barriers to emerge, and just overall quality of the deal was rather questionable. Was more than 10,000 North Korean soldiers sacrificed just for publicity stunt? It very well might be. It might sound far-fetched, but in a war that has dragged on for almost 3 years, desperation has become the Kremlin's norm. Rather than admitting defeat, Russia now pins its hopes on Pyongyang's massive pool of underpaid and underfed soldiers. Some see this as a twisted Hail Mary pass that might fortify Russia's crumbling front lines. Others argue it is a surefire recipe for chaos, with language barriers and cultural differences sabotaging any meaningful strategy and cooperation. And then there is the question of loyalty. How long before some of these North Koreans see a better opportunity on the other side and surrender, or even defect to Ukraine? A lot of people also assumed this to be a very possible scenario, considering this their best and the only chance to escape Kim Jong Un. And it looks like that's exactly what has been happening. From the outset, Putin's special military operation was projected to be quick and decisive. Reality painted a very different picture, however. Russian forces tried another offensive in Kharkiv in mid-2024, suffering more than 70,000 casualties within a couple of months. Then came the humiliating moment when Ukrainians took the fight right into the Russian territory by invading parts of the Kursk region. Putin had once boasted he would unleash nuclear wrath if Ukraine ever steps foot inside Russia's borders, or if a single shell or a drone lands on Russian land. Surprise, surprise, all of this was just a bluff, as no such things ever materialized. It even became completely the opposite, to be honest, if you think about it. As Ukrainians gained more confidence that there will be no severe response from the Russian side, such attacks, specifically against the oil depots, became literally a daily thing. And in order to contain the incursion, Kremlin decided to send whoever they got at their disposal at that time, primarily undertrained and inexperienced conscripts. In the first couple of days, this achieved absolutely nothing, as the march of Ukrainians across Kursk continued. But then, once more or less a regular Russian army arrived, the advancement did cease. Though even until now, Russians have not been able to fully push Ukrainians out of their country. Partially because according to decades-old Soviet law, conscripts cannot be legally deployed abroad. Russia inherited that rule, so it assigned draftees to guard border towns against an emboldened Ukrainian military. Ill-equipped and lacking real combat experience, these soldiers became very easy targets. To replenish its ranks more effectively, Putin then turned towards an ally that has historically been willing to do almost anything for resources. Guess which one? Exactly. North Korea. Pyongyang has depended heavily on the assistance by both China and Russia, receiving aid packages, old Soviet weaponry, and moral support in international forums. And now Kim Jong Un seems to be returning the favor, shipping not only artillery shells, but also thousands of troops across vast distances to strengthen Russia's defensive lines in Kursk. But since the beginning, almost no one believed that this will tip the scales back in Putin's favor. Let's ask the obvious. Why risk precious North Korean manpower on a foreign conflict that has allegedly already devoured untold numbers of Russian soldiers? The official line is all about mutual defense and upholding a treaty. Yet real motivations often lurk in the shadows of totalitarian deal-making. North Korea's economy has long hovered on the brink of collapse, shackled by international sanctions and plagued by systemic mismanagement. If Kim Jong Un is sending troops overseas, there is probably a sweet payoff involved, whether in the form of food supplies, vital technology, knowledge, or other highly demanded items, such as much-needed oil and rice shipments. It also keeps North Korea relevant on the global stage, showcasing a willingness to back Russia at a moment when many of Moscow's old friends prefer to keep their distance. Then there is the personal calculation for each North Korean soldier. Earning $1,000 or $2,000 per year in Russia is life-changing sum compared to surviving on pennies back home. Though reportedly most North Koreans get paid no more than $1 per day of participation in the hostilities. I have a question for you guys. Would you risk your life for $1 per day? Please let me know down below in the comments. But even if 80 or 90% of the soldiers' official pay goes straight back to the Kim's regime, that leftover fraction is still a fortune in Pyongyang, believe it or not. Soldiers who serve abroad might also gain higher social standing, and families of the fallen ones could be compensated generously in a system where even basic necessities are never guaranteed. By deploying troops, Kim effectively dangles a few golden carrots while tightening his iron grip on military loyalty. That's honestly a win-win situation for him, if you think about it. Send less than 0.1% of your army to fight somebody else's war, get paid for doing this, get Putin's attention and respect, and in case you worry that these people might come back home and spread the Western ideology among their friends, well, worry no more. It was never about survival of these soldiers anyways. And still, some reports claim that Pyongyang meticulously screened each soldier before sending them abroad, ensuring only the most loyal set foot on the Russian soil, with layers of surveillance to prevent mass desertions. Well, apparently, even these measures were not enough. You simply cannot eliminate person's desire for freedom and better lifestyle. So no wonder, sooner or later, but defections by North Korean soldiers started to happen. When these North Korean units arrive, often hidden under Russian uniforms, they step into a confusing foreign environment. The Russian army, battered by years of war, is hardly the mighty juggernaut it once pretended to be. Morale is low, equipment is aging or destroyed, and the constant flow of Western-supplied Ukrainian arms has turned the once thought unstoppable bear into a cornered predator. While drone warfare and modern artillery continue shaping the battlefield, untested North Koreans who come from a military that rarely sees any real combat may find themselves completely outmatched. Language differences add another hurdle, making daily coordination a logistical maze. Analysts suggest that some 500 North Korean officers and a few generals came along as interpreters and disciplinarians alone. But the ratio does not line up with troop estimates, implying either more are on their way or Russian plans to reassign native officers to babysit them. It's also no secret that some of these North Koreans might slip into Ukraine's hands. And honestly, we do already have reports of this happening. Suspilnya, for example, a Ukrainian broadcaster, reported at least 18 have already deserted their positions in Kursk. Whether their goal is truly to join Ukraine's cause or simply to flee the tyranny of Pyongyang's rule is unclear. Most likely it's the second one. But why would they do it? Well, just like many of us, they do hear the news that this war might potentially be over soon. If not completely, at least there will be some sort of ceasefire, and out of lack of necessity to feed extra mouths and pay extra dollars in salaries, these North Koreans probably realize that this could be their one and only, the first and last chance to run away and never come back. Because if they are not sent back home in black bags, they will be forced to come to North Korea and will most likely go through the so-called re-educational camps. North Korean leadership cannot take any chances or even the slightest hints of Western ideologies penetrating North Korean minds. So that's why every single soldier returning from Ukraine will go through an express course of patriotic upbringing. And for some reason I doubt this will be pleasurable and enjoyable as watching North Korean documentaries or passing history tests. If everything will be so easy, innocent and normal in North Korea, why would this country even get the reputation that it has right now? So, when you think about it in this way, it now makes much more sense why some soldiers decided to take a risk and do everything possible not to return home to Kim Jong Un's big welcoming hug. One of the biggest dilemmas is that their relatives are in equal danger, if not more. Entire families might be captured, prosecuted and punished, or just captured and punished. No legal involvement, nothing. If the authorities come to know that their husbands, sons or brothers became a traitor. For this reason, defecting to Ukrainian side might be considered as one and only option, hoping that Ukrainians can leave some sort of evidence for Russians to pick up that this specific person was eliminated during battle, create some sort of documents and death certificates confirming the event, and then just hide and lay low, hoping their trick will never be discovered. It might even suit them better than just returning home, going through re-educational camps, and then just continuing living their not-so-enjoyable lives. If the government believes that they were forever lost in Ukraine, the family might even receive some compensation and a higher status. Because there is no better thing to do apparently in North Korea than to sacrifice your life for the greater good of the motherland. Either way, each defection, as you can see, is a reputational damage for Moscow. If enough of these new arrivals decide to vanish, it is a serious blow to the Kremlin's plans, and an even bigger embarrassment on the global stage. Now imagine the ripple effect of a full-blown fiasco in Kursk. If North Korean troops fail to stop Ukraine from inching deeper into Russian territory, Putin will have wasted precious resources and diplomatic capital. The money paid to Pyongyang might as well be thrown into the wind, into the endless, bottomless pit. Worse, if the phenomena of North Koreans defecting becomes widespread, this failure could strain Russia's entire alliance system. Kim Jong Un will not be pleased if hundreds of his men die or disappear without accomplishing a thing. North Korea may start to question why it is sending artillery shells and men by the thousands if Russia is losing ground anyways. Then there is China, that constantly looms in the background, quietly reevaluating its alliances. Beijing does not want to see its two neighbors embroiled in a never-ending quagmire. It has been funneling support to Moscow from smuggled technology to shady financial deals, but it cannot publicly condone a catastrophic war that pits Russia against the collective West. If North Korean troops turn out to be more of a liability than an asset, or if large numbers of them desert, then China might rethink how deeply it wants to stay attached to these two sinking ships. Beijing also has to worry about what happens if the North Korean peninsula heats up again. A conflict there would drag in South Korea, whose military has soared ahead in modernization and might use any perceived North Korean weakness to press for political or territorial advantage. NATO can also see North Korea's direct involvement as an excuse to crank up its commitment to Ukraine. It has already shipped billions of dollars in weapons and aid since the war began, matching the Russian military budget for the last 3 years combined. If Pyongyang's presence tips the conflict's scale towards genuine multinational chaos, NATO might move from shipments of arms to an even more robust approach, such as stationing peacekeepers or offering direct support in border zones. Even though it might not feel like that the problem is concerning right now, we have other things going, obviously, you know what I'm talking about. No one still can deny the possibility of some unthinkable decisions being taken by Putin or Kim Jong Un. One day the war is sluggish and nothing much happens, and then we wake up in a completely new reality. Just like we did on February 24th, 2022. Well, there you have it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below, for example my Patreon, where I upload hundreds of footage, photos and videos, uncensored ones, from Ukraine every single week. And well, thanks so much for watching, see you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.